Hello and welcome to episode 200 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is September 4th, 2023. 200 episodes. It's not actually 200 episodes on the English channel as I only started filming English versions with episode 37 and I have 8 special videos that I also did in English and 7 tutorial videos. So all in all, it's fewer than 200, but I wanted the numbers in the German channel and the English channel to be the same. So that's why we are celebrating 200 episodes that I have done all together in the German version. But you still get to see the 200s and also in the intro of the video. So I hope you enjoyed that little change. Today I'm wearing a very nice shawl that I did not knit myself. It was knit by my sister, and there's an interesting story around this. I bought the yarn, which is Schoppel's lace ball. It's called lace ball. It's like their Zauberball, but in lace weight. And I'm pretty sure it's a pure wool. And I bought 2 balls of lace yarn for my sister, for her to be able to make a really big shawl. And she said she liked the colors, so she started knitting this shawl. I think she just found the pattern somewhere, probably in a pattern book, and then she cast on so many stitches and just kept knitting the pattern. And she kept knitting and knitting and knitting, and at some point she said, I think this is long enough, even though she was still knitting the first ball of yarn. So this is this ball had 800 meters to 100 gram. So it's quite a lot of yarn, and it's a beautiful long shawl. And so she finished the shawl and she gave me the other ball of yarn back to knit something so that I could knit something. And then I knit the Dotted Race shawl by Stephen West out of the other ball of yarn. And then at some point, my sister said she's not really wearing this. So she gave it to me. And I wasn't really wearing the Dotted Race, so I gave that to her. But now she's already given that away again. But so it's quite interesting how we keep giving things back and forth. But I really like this shawl. It's a fairly simple pattern, so I probably wouldn't have enjoyed knitting it too much. But I like wearing it. I love blue colors. I love the color blue, and I wear a lot of more blue things than my sister, so it makes sense that I got this, and I like wearing it. Yeah, and the pullover I'm wearing is the Modern Art pullover out of the book, something about artful yokes or something, yoke pullover, and I knit it out of cotton yarn. You can see the short rows here in the light yarn. That aren't here in the front. I used 2 different colorways of Catania. So this is a fairly strongly variegated yarn, and the top color is only very slightly variegated. So I thought the pattern would show nicely in this light color. And then the easy part where it's just stockinette, I use the more colorful yarn so that the knitting would be more interesting. And so that's that summer pullover and this nice lace weight shawl to go with it. It's a very nice combination, I think. Yeah, so that's what I'm wearing today. Then on to finished objects, and I officially have 1 finished object, but I'm going to show you the 2 things that I had already knit the week before but didn't show in last week's video because it was a surprise for this video, for the new intro that I had planned. I'd been thinking about doing something special for episode 200, but for a long time I didn't have an idea. And then a friend of mine suggested doing something with the intro and maybe changing that a little bit. And that gave me the idea to incorporate different kinds of 200s. And the friend who had that idea, she drew that picture over there, and then another friend drew the other picture that's in the intro. And then of course the other 200 that was modeled, made out of, is it clay? Oh, I'm very bad with English expressions in that area, but that was made by my sister, who does those things a lot. And I did the 2 knitted 200s. So for this, I knitted a 2 and 2 zeros out of some cotton yarn and just stitched it onto this loop shawl. That's the Strider cowl by Susan Pandolf out of her Lord of the Rings book 1 pattern collection. And I will take the 200 off again so I can still wear the cowl as a simple dark cowl. And the other 200, part of that was knit by the friend who also drew the other 200, and the rest was knit by me, and then I just put some wire through to get the 200. And I thought it was quite a funny idea to have all those 200s in the little intro to my video. Yeah, so that was something that I'd already knit the week before, but last week I also managed to finish a project, and that's the Wiener Hop pullover, the Lama pullover that I knit out of this bulky yarn. And the calculations that I did worked out so I could finish this stripe, and then I did the ribbing, doing 2 rounds of white and 2 rounds of the blue. And yeah, that worked out beautifully. I'm really happy with the fit. The sleeves could have been a tiny bit longer, but I haven't washed the pullover yet. So I think after I washed it, I would just pull on the sleeves ever so slightly, and I'm pretty sure that they'll fit perfectly after that. It will probably, hopefully, be some time until I can wear the pullover on the podcast, because I don't want it to get that cold too soon. So it might take a while for you to see the pullover on me, but at some point I'll definitely wear it. And that reminds me that the next 2 weeks there won't be normal videos because I'm going on holiday. And so next week there'll be another special video that I have actually filmed in German and in English. And then the week after that there will be no video, there'll be a pause. And then in 3 weeks' time, I will show you all the things that I knit while on vacation. So we'll see if that's a lot or maybe just a few things. We'll see. Yeah, so that's all the finished objects. And last week was a really busy week with lots of other things than knitting and crocheting. So there's 2 projects that I did not work on. And I also did not manage to begin something new, which is quite crazy. I always can't wait to start new things, and I have a long list of projects that I really want to cast on, but I just didn't get around to doing that. So I'll probably start a few new projects to take with me on holiday. Yeah, but the first project that I'm supposed to show you now are the knee-high socks that I'm knitting as part of the pattern battle. I did actually, I think, knit 1 or 2 rounds on those, but it doesn't really make a difference, so I decided not to show them. But the next pair of socks I worked on are the Squiggley Madness socks, and I put the sock onto a sock blocker in the right size. And I think I can start knitting the toe now. So I wasn't quite sure. I didn't have the sock blocker at home, so I couldn't really measure it at home. And so I just stopped knitting until I could do the measurements. And maybe I'll add 2 more rounds, but then I can start knitting the toe. I want to knit the toe as per pattern for this sock because the toe uses the 2 contrast colors. And for the other socks, for his socks, not for the second one of this pair, but for the other pair I'm going to knit, I will just do a simple toe in 1 color, and then I'll see whether I'll stick to the pattern or whether I'll just do my favorite toe. I'll see about that. Yeah, so that's sock number 1 of the Squiggley Madness. I'm ready to do the toe and looking forward to finishing the first sock so I can start the second straight away. Then the next sock project that I showed you were the mini tiny socks, and I've added a few to those, and I've put the rings on all of them. So the last 3 that I knit were these 3. So this was the first one. This is a colorway opal sock yarn from the 100 Wasser colorways. So they took several paintings from Hundertwasser, and each painting inspired the colorway, the colors in the sock yarn. And because there's lots of colors in those balls of yarn, so this sock and this is the same ball of yarn. So you can sort of see that I finished with this color and then started with that color. And then even the light blue is the same again, but I could have made more socks out of that ball of yarn and they would all have looked different. With this one, I did a simple 2x2 rib and then a very simple stockinette sock. And then with this sock, I decided to do the spiral sock pattern, but I didn't want to do a complete spiral sock because then it wouldn't have looked like a sock with no foot in it. So I just did the spiral pattern, then put in a heel, and I continued the spiral pattern on top of the foot, but did just stockinette for the sole, so it does look like a proper sock. And then the third one that I knit last week, I did a brioche pattern sock. And again, with brioche, you can you don't have to knit a heel, because if you put your foot in, it will just mold itself to your foot. But for these, I needed a heel, so I did a bit of normal ribbing, then I did a bit of brioche, then I did some more normal ribbing and put the heel in, and then just a few more rounds of brioche pattern. I think that looks really funny, and I'm pretty sure it'll look even funnier with the chip in there that you need for the grocery carts in Germany. So yeah, but really happy with that. And this is a bit of leftover yarn from my fragmentation shawl that I knit, a Stephen West pattern. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with the amount of socks that I managed to knit. I may have to knit a few more because I was told that more people are expected or are coming to the event than were originally expected, and then I won't be able to show them. I'll just give them away, but I'll make sure to take pictures and put them on my Ravelry page in case you want to have a look at them. So that's the mini socks. Then the next sock are the Instant Crush. It's the Instant Crush pattern. That was a warm-up pattern for the Sock Madness this year, and I'm knitting those socks for my sister, and I finished knitting the foot. So these socks are knit toe up. I tried them on her earlier this morning, and she wasn't quite sure whether they're a bit too tight and maybe not quite long enough, but it's difficult with the needles in, and she wasn't sure, and they actually are a bit too long for me, so they should fit her. And we decided that I was just going to continue knitting, and once I've done a bit of the cuff, maybe I'll have a try them on again, and if they're really too short, I could undo that bit and make them a bit longer, but I do hope they fit. I'm not really keen on undoing the alpaca sock yarn by Hansa Farm. It's fantastically soft and nice to knit with, but I don't think it likes being ripped out and reknit. Yeah, so these are shorty socks, but they do have a bit of a contrast color something on top, so even though they're shorty socks, there's a little more to be done. So that's that. And then we have the film reel socks, another pair of film reel socks that I'm knitting. These are for my first nephew. Again, it's his second pair of film reel socks, and I knit 2 of the films and now I'm ready to start the heel, and I'm quite happy with how the yarn comes out. So we do have 2 very different films that we're looking at, and especially with this one, I think it kind of looks like dark clouds on a grey sky. So I'm really quite happy with how this comes out, and looking forward to seeing what the other films are going to look like. So that's that. And then I'll continue with some non-sock projects until we come to the last pair of socks. Yeah, so I've already shown you one of the pullovers I was knitting because that's done. Now we get to the other pullover, and that's the V-back tee. And I did knit on that quite a bit during the last week because I managed to put on hold the the sleeve stitches. I put the sleeve stitches on hold. I think that's how the sentence is supposed to be. And with this pullover, you have a V-neck on one side, which is supposed to be the back, but you can also wear it as the front. And here are both sleeves. And then the other side is this rounded neck that you can either wear to the front or to the back. This stitch marker is the point where you're supposed to do all the measurements for the color changes. And I put these two needles in to show me where I did the color change, because the colors are so close to each other, especially the first and second color. The third color is quite different, but if it's just one round of the third color, it doesn't really show because it's a gray color, and both my first and second color have gray in them, so it's really hard to see. But now you can see this is just color one. This is the transition that has a bit of all three colors, and this bit is just color two. And yeah, now I'm going to continue with color two until I have the same height as here. Then I'll do another transition bit, and then I'll just knit with color three. The interesting thing is that I thought I'd be knitting this V shape mostly with the color two, and then I'll do the short rows with color three. But because I'm so short, I've already reached the point where I put in the short rows. So I haven't got enough length in color two. So it means I'll start the short rows with the color two, then do the color change, and then finish the short rows with color three. So I'm not quite sure how much of color three will be visible on this side, except for the ribbing, which is going to be down here. It's very exciting. I don't really have an idea how the short rows are knit while you change colors, but I think she links to a video in the pattern, so I'm really interested in having a look at that. And yeah, and I still haven't made up my mind how to do the colors in the sleeves, because I want long sleeves and not just short sleeves in color two. And yeah, but I will have to see how much yarn I have left after I finish the front and back. And with this pullover, I'll actually finish front and back before I do the sleeves. Really excited about this pullover. I'm very intrigued by the pattern. It's very cleverly constructed, and I really enjoy the knitting. That's why I did so much of it during the last week, and I'm really looking forward to continuing knitting on that and finishing the pullover as soon as possible. Then we come to the crochet part of my video, and I haven't done anything on the Grüne shawl that I'm crocheting out of the Wolldackel hand-dyed yarn. So I'm not going to show that, but I did continue on the square that I'm knitting out of the Granny Square Patchwork book by Shelley Husband, and I want to crochet a pullover, cotton pullover, with two big squares for the front and back, or at least one big square for the front, and then we'll see what I do about the back. And I basically finished the first part of the pattern, and from here on the pattern is going to change. There'll be several more rounds, I think, sort of in the round, or with this octagon. Is it an octagon shape? And then at some point the square will start to show, and the thing's going to be squared off. But I'm really happy with how the pattern shows. It's not that clearly visible as if I had used a lighter color, but it's still not that dark that it's invisible. And I really enjoyed crocheting it, and I really look forward to continuing on that. And I also enjoy making lots and lots of plans for how to do the back of the pullover. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do the same pattern for the back. So if I do something different, the choice is doing another pattern in the same size, or doing 4 smaller squares, or maybe even 9 even smaller squares. So there's lots and lots of options, and I have no idea yet what I'm going to do. So that's the the only crochet project I can show you today, and I can see this is going to be a fairly short video, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Yeah, so we're already at the point where I talk about our knit along, and that's the banana socks knit along. And I continued knitting on my banana socks out of this Black Dragon colorway by Opal, and I just kept knitting in pattern. So I am adding those stockinette and reverse stockinette stripes on the front. That's what I count, because the back is just a 2x2 rib. It's more difficult to count. And I'm up to 10 of the reverse stockinette stripes. And the goal at the moment is to do 20, but that's not set in stone. So I will keep trying the sock on, and the recipient of these socks still has a bit smaller feet than I do, but he's still growing, so I will make the socks fairly long for me so that he can hopefully keep wearing them even though he keeps growing. So that's the plan. Yeah, and I have 4 pairs of banana socks planned out of different colorways of the Black Dragon series. So for this boy and his sister, and for his 2 cousins, and excuse me. And this is definitely going to be one of my main projects for the holidays, because a ball of sock yarn is easy to pack. It's not a lot of stuff, but you have lots of knitting to do. And yeah, and with these crazy trio needles, it's easy to be knitting anywhere, everywhere. I don't have to concentrate a lot. So this is, I think it's perfect travel knitting. But I will definitely also take some other projects just to have a bit of a change during the holiday, where I can just enjoy the knitting. I don't have to get anything finished. I can just do something if I feel like it, and if not, I can not knit and crochet for a while. Yeah, so I'll see how that works. That was actually everything that I knit and crocheted last week. I told you it was a busy week, so I didn't get quite as much done as usual. But the next time I film a proper episode, I will have had 3 weeks time to knit and crochet. And even if I do less knitting and crochet than usual, I hope it'll still be enough to show you progress in most, if not all, of my projects. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you'll enjoy the special video next week, and I'll see you again in 3 weeks' time. See you then. Bye.